In the heart of a secluded town nestled between mist-covered mountains, there stood an ancient house on the edge of a dark and mysterious forest. This house, with its weathered facade and creaking floorboards, had a history steeped in whispers of the past. The townsfolk spoke of it in hushed tones, cautioning one another to avoid the eerie dwelling that had long been available for rent. Enter Jack, a man drawn by the allure of solitude and the promise of escape from the chaos of city life. Little did he know that this decision would plunge him into a tale darker than the shadows that clung to the surrounding woods. The moment Jack set foot in the old house, a chill crept down his spine. The air was thick with an unsettling silence that seemed to be disturbed only by the distant howls of wolves echoing through the trees. As he unpacked his belongings, the forest beyond the window watched with an ancient knowing, its secrets hidden among the twisted branches. Jack's nights were restless, filled with strange dreams that seemed to seep from the very walls of the house. Whispers danced in the darkness, and the wind carried echoes of forgotten voices. He tried to dismiss these unsettling occurrences as mere figments of his imagination, but the unease persisted. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack decided to explore the forest. The tall trees loomed over him like silent sentinels, their branches creating an impenetrable canopy that blocked out the moonlight. He ventured deeper, guided only by the occasional flicker of fireflies. As Jack delved into the heart of the woods, the atmosphere thickened with an otherworldly tension. The trees seemed to close in around him, their gnarled limbs intertwining like bony fingers. A soft murmur echoed through the darkness, and he caught glimpses of shadowy figures darting between the trees. It was then that Jack stumbled upon an ancient, dilapidated well hidden amidst the undergrowth. The air around it seemed to vibrate with an unnatural energy. As he approached, he heard a whisper, a voice from the depths below, beckoning him closer. Ignoring the warnings that echoed in his mind, Jack peered into the abyss. The voice from the well spoke in riddles, weaving tales of forgotten rituals and a curse that bound the forest to the house. Jack, both mesmerized and horrified, couldn't tear himself away from the haunting narrative. The voice claimed that the only way to break the curse was to unearth the truth hidden in the depths of the woods. Compelled by an inexplicable force, Jack began his quest to unravel the mysteries that bound the house and the forest together. Guided by the cryptic messages of the well, he ventured into the heart of the darkness that surrounded him. As he pressed on, the forest seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. Shadows danced on the periphery of his vision, and strange symbols appeared etched into the bark of ancient trees. Jack's steps quickened as he sensed a presence, an unseen watcher that followed his every move. In his pursuit of the truth, Jack discovered an abandoned cabin, its time-worn exterior concealed by overgrown vines. Inside, he found a journal that chronicled the experiences of a previous tenant. The words within spoke of a forbidden pact made with the spirits of the forest, a desperate bargain to escape an unimaginable fate. The more Jack learned, the clearer it became that the forest held the key to the house's cursed history. Each step deeper into the shadows unraveled a tapestry of betrayal, lost souls, and a vengeful force that sought retribution. Haunted by the spirits of the past, Jack confronted the apparitions that materialized before him. Their ghostly faces bore expressions of sorrow and resentment, their voices echoing the pain of a pact gone awry. As he delved into the heart of the forest's secrets, Jack unearthed a long-buried truth that sent shivers down his spine. The forest, it seemed, had a memory of its own, a memory tainted by betrayal and a thirst for justice. Jack realized that the only way to break the curse was to confront the malevolent force that lingered in the shadows, to appease the spirits who yearned for release. As the moon hummed low in the sky, Jack returned to the well, armed with the knowledge of the forest's tormented history. The voice spoke once more, its tone a mix of sorrow and relief. The path to redemption, it revealed, lay in a ritual that required Jack to make a sacrifice, one that would bind his fate with the forests and break the curse that held the house in its sinister grip. The forest watched, silent and expectant, as Jack faced the chilling choice that would determine the fate of both the haunted house and the ancient woods. With a heavy heart, Jack hesitated before the well, the weight of the forest's history pressing upon him. The spirits, both vengeful and yearning for release, seemed to hold their collective breath as Jack made his decision. In a solemn ceremony, Jack willingly offered a piece of himself to the ancient well, binding his fate with the cursed forest. The air thickened with an eerie energy, and the ground trembled beneath him as if acknowledging the pact. As the last echoes of the ritual faded into the night, the forest responded. The shadows that had plagued Jack now seemed to retreat, dissolving like mist in the morning sun. The ancient trees, once twisted and foreboding, straightened as if released from a dark enchantment. The house, too, underwent a transformation. Its time-worn exterior regained a semblance of vitality, and the creaking floorboards hushed their ghostly complaints. The oppressive atmosphere that had lingered within the walls lifted, replaced by an unfamiliar but serene calm. In the days that followed, the townsfolk noticed a change in the forest's demeanor. The once whispered secrets now seemed to float away on the breeze, leaving behind an almost tangible peace. The mysterious house at the edge of the woods no longer elicited fear, but rather curiosity. Jack, forever connected to the forest, became a guardian of its secrets. The haunting dreams that had plagued him evolved into visions of gratitude from the spirits he had freed. The well, now a symbol of redemption, stood as a silent witness to the pact that had changed the course of the forest's history. As the seasons cycled through their dance, Jack remained in the town, his presence a reminder of the interconnectedness between the living and the ethereal. The forest, once a realm of shadows, became a sanctuary for those seeking solace. The ancient trees whispered stories of redemption, and the well, now revered, held the memory of a man who had dared to confront the darkness within. The tale of Jack and the haunted house faded into the annals of the town's history, but the forest endured, forever changed by the events that transpired. The air, once heavy with secrets, now carried a gentle breeze that whispered tales of redemption and the unbreakable bond between the living and the spectral. And so, the dark and mysterious forest, once feared and avoided, became a place of healing, its secrets buried deep within the roots of ancient trees, waiting to be discovered by those willing to confront the shadows of the past. Tony couldn't believe his luck when he stumbled upon the quaint house for rent nestled on the edge of the dark forest. It was isolated, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to whisper ancient secrets. The realtor, an elderly woman with a hushed tone, warned him about the rumors surrounding the woods, but Tony dismissed them as local folklore. As Tony settled into the house, strange occurrences became a part of his daily routine. Whispers echoed through the halls when he was alone, and shadows danced on the periphery of his vision. He chalked it up to the creaky old house settling in, but the unease lingered. Late at night, the wind howled through the trees like mournful cries, sending shivers down his spine. One day, while exploring the woods, Tony stumbled upon an overgrown cemetery hidden in the shadows. The tombstones were weathered and barely legible, revealing the resting places of long-forgotten souls. The air felt heavy with sorrow, and Tony couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits of the past were watching him. As days turned into weeks, the unsettling atmosphere in the house intensified. Tony discovered a hidden room in the basement, its walls adorned with cryptic symbols and faded pentagrams. The air in the room seemed charged with an otherworldly energy, making Tony question the history of the house. Determined to unravel the mysteries, he delved into local archives, uncovering a dark secret that tied the house to a series of unsolved disappearances that plagued the town decades ago. In the dead of night, Tony heard footsteps echoing through the house, and the whispers became more distinct, beckoning him to the hidden room. Against his better judgment, he followed the eerie calls and found himself standing in front of a dusty mirror. As he stared into his reflection, the room's temperature plummeted, and an ethereal figure materialized behind him, a ghostly apparition, its eyes filled with a deep longing. The ghostly figure introduced itself as Eleanor, a woman who had vanished mysteriously from the town many years ago. She implored Tony to help her find closure and reveal the truth behind her disappearance. As Tony listened to her sorrowful tale, he felt a deep sense of empathy and obligation. Determined to unearth the hidden secrets, Tony delved further into the town's history. He discovered a long-forgotten legend of a cult that had once thrived in the dark forest, conducting mysterious rituals in the hidden room beneath his house. Eleanor, it seemed, was a victim of their malevolent practices. As Tony unraveled the threads of the past, he became entangled in a web of deceit and betrayal. The cult had wielded dark powers, and the forest itself seemed to harbor a malevolent force that sought to protect its secrets. The whispers and shadows that haunted Tony were manifestations of the lingering anguish of the past. The deeper Tony ventured into the mystery, the more the town resisted his efforts. Locals turned cold, and the once friendly realtor avoided him. He began to feel a malevolent presence watching his every move, the shadows in the forest growing darker and more ominous. Tony's sleep was plagued by vivid nightmares, and Eleanor's ghostly visits became more frequent. As he inched closer to the truth, he faced inexplicable obstacles, a sudden storm that flooded the archives, missing records, and a pervasive feeling of dread that seemed to seep from the very roots of the ancient trees. Undeterred, Tony pressed on, determined to break the curse that bound Eleanor's spirit. He enlisted the help of a local historian, who revealed that the cult's rituals had left an indelible mark on the house and the surrounding forest. The only way to sever the ties was to confront the malevolent force head-on. As Tony prepared for a final confrontation, the shadows in the forest seemed to come alive. The wind whispered warnings, and the trees groaned in protest. The house itself seemed to rebel, its time-worn walls echoing with the tormented cries of the past. But Tony, fueled by a mix of fear and courage, ventured into the hidden room. Armed with knowledge, he performed a ritual to banish the malevolent force. As the last incantation left his lips, the room trembled, and a blinding light enveloped him. In that moment, the forest fell silent, and the weight that had plagued Tony lifted. The shadows receded, and the whispers faded into the stillness of the night. Tony emerged from the hidden room, the ghostly apparition of Eleanor by his side, her eyes finally at peace. As dawn broke over the dark forest, Tony and Eleanor's spirits vanished, leaving the house and the woods in a profound stillness. The town, once plagued by the shadows of its past, began to heal, and the whispers faded into the gentle rustling of leaves in the wind. Little did Tony know that his journey had become a new tale, a legend whispered around campfires, a story of a man who faced the shadows of the past and, against all odds, emerged from the dark forest with a newfound light. With the malevolent force banished and the secrets of the dark forest laid bare, Tony found solace in the newfound tranquility that enveloped the once turbulent house. The town, too, seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief as the curse that had gripped it for decades lifted. Tony, now a reluctant hero, became an integral part of the community. Locals who had once shunned him now looked upon him with gratitude and respect. The realtor, who had initially warned him of the forest's dark secrets, approached Tony with a mixture of awe and admiration. As the seasons changed, the once menacing forest transformed into a place of serene beauty. The trees that had harbored shadows now stood tall, their leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. The cemetery, once forgotten and overgrown, became a place of quiet reflection, a memorial to those who had been lost to the malevolent force. Tony, however, couldn't forget the haunting memories of his ordeal. The nights filled with whispers, the shadows that seemed to cling to him, and the ethereal figure of Eleanor lingered in his mind. But with the passage of time, those memories began to fade, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and closure. As the years went by, the story of Tony's encounter with the supernatural became a local legend. The house on the edge of the dark forest became a symbol of resilience and triumph over the unknown. People spoke in hushed tones about the man who faced the shadows and brought light to the darkest corners of their town. In the quiet moments of reflection, Tony often found himself standing at the edge of the forest, gazing into the trees that had once concealed secrets. The whispers were gone, and the shadows were now mere remnants of a past that no longer held sway. Eleanor's spirit, having found peace, had become a part of the town's folklore, a guardian of the dark forest's secrets. One day, as Tony stood on the porch of his now beloved home, he noticed a family approaching. A young couple with a child. They were drawn to the house's rustic charm and the tranquil beauty of the surrounding forest. Tony greeted them warmly, sharing stories of the town's history, carefully omitting the darker chapters. As the family settled into their new home, Tony couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. The dark forest, once a realm of mystery and malevolence, had been transformed into a haven of peace. The shadows had given way to the warm embrace of sunlight filtering through the leaves, and the whispers had become the gentle murmurs of a living, breathing forest. As Tony watched the family create their own memories in the house, he knew that the tale of the dark forest would endure. The legend of the man who faced the shadows and emerged victorious would be passed down through generations, a reminder that even in the darkest corners, there is a flicker of light waiting to be discovered. And so, the house on the edge of the dark forest stood as a testament to the enduring power of courage, resilience, and the triumph of light over shadow.